and today we got to play Streets. So I was really excited about this when it came out on Kickstarter because I love the game Villagers. And so Randy knew of my love and ended up backing this project. So when did we get this from Kickstarter?
It was the first week of January when it arrived.
Okay, so it's not been too long.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you want to join me, Randy, and Birdman, who's not here today, on our adventure discovering some amazing board games through our collection or our shelf of shame.
Room of Shame.
Room of Shame, really.
It's actually a room of opportunity.
Room of opportunity. There you go.
My retirement plan.
Yeah, we won't be bored. All we'll be able to do is play board games. All right, Randy, tell us more about Streets. Like I said, it was on Kickstarter.
Yes, this was the Kickstarter version. Streets was released technically in 2021, although we didn't receive it until 2022. The rating...
But that's the Kickstarter, so the retail was out, but not the Kickstarter.
No, retail has not released yet.
Oh, when is retail set to release?
I don't know on that. It's coming soon.
Soon.
So the rating is 7.3 currently on Board Game Geek. Rank is currently 3,123. It is a 1 to 5 player game, average length 30 to 60 minutes. I would call this probably a very light to medium, but probably more on the light side, especially if you play the base game.
Yeah, I would say that.
Age is 10 and up. Designed by Håkon Garder, and same as the art. He also did the art, or Håkon Garder. Published by Sinister Fish Games. The Board Game Geek price, you can find it out there online for people selling it for $50. And that's about what we paid when the Kickstarter went. So if you missed the Kickstarter, there's a copy out on Board Game Geek right now. If you're interested, it'd be the same price as what the Kickstarter's paid because it was £38, which translates roughly to $52. So it's basically the same price. The retail version that hasn't released yet, I saw it on Card House for $24.45 discounted. I think the MSRP is like $35 for the retail. The differences between what you see here and what's in the retail are the wooden meeples are all hand painted or screen printed, I should say, not hand painted.
Screen printed. Yeah.
Two different patterns on each color.
Yes.
The money is wooden and screen printed, as are these business tokens. They're screen printed, and in the retail version, these are cardboard, and those are not screen printed, but they're still wooden.
Right. So that leads us straight to quality of pieces. I love the money. I really do. I think the money is fantastic. I love the screen printing, good tactilely and everything else like that. Visually, very easy to differentiate between the different money. So for that, I kept saying throughout the game, I really like these money tiles. I really like these money tiles. So I really like the money tiles. Also, the fact that each of the color of meeples, there are two different kinds that were screen printed on there. I think that was absolutely fantastic and cute. And as well as, the cardboard tiles, they're pretty, but they are linen finish even.
Yeah, they are linen finish and they're decent thickness.
Yeah, so if you... And then any of the other cards are also linen finished. We also got a money bag if you want to see that.
This is actually in the retail too.
Yeah, so that's
as are these. They have these nice storage boxes for the components that double as like things to store while you're playing the game. But they are really nice for considering these are in the retail as well.
Yeah. So and then you have this as well. These are your player tokens or ownership.
They look like for sale signs, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You kept wanting to stand them vertically where they would fall over, but
no. They don't have to fall over. Like I just felt like I don't know. I was trying to make it 3D because because honestly, they did such a great job with the pieces. I was just like, I want to
play with them.
I want to make it a city. And Sarah was over here trying to play with them, right?
Yeah.
She was like, so.
Yeah, we definitely got Sarah's attention when we got this game out.
Yes. She did. So overall, I don't see what they could have done better with this style of game.
Well, for the Kickstarter, I would agree. I think
right. We're talking about the Kickstarter right now, and so for me, the Kickstarter I think is a 10 as far as quality of components. They did everything right when you're talking about quality.
Yeah,
of
I agree. I think it's a 10 as far as the components. They're beautiful. And, the things, if we were evaluating the retail version, that we'd be saying is, I wish they had done this and this and this. It's already in the Kickstarter.
Yes.
So it's a matter of whether you're willing to bite that $25 price differential between or whatever, it's actually about almost $30 price differential between the retail version, which you could get it online, versus what you're paying for the Kickstarter. Now, I will say that this deluxe version will be available on Sinister Fish's website whenever it does release. It may be out there now. I didn't check their website. But the one thing that we didn't mention that's different for the Kickstarter, there's a handful of components which have all spilled in the box that are exclusive to, well, the 5-player version. Those pieces are not. But this stack of tiles.
Oh, the promo pack?
Yes, and then there's a promo pack of two or three additional of the professions.
Okay.
That are not part of the standard, that are Kickstarter exclusives. So if you even if you got the Sinister Fish deluxe version of this, you would not be getting those if you didn't back into Kickstarter. So
just kind of being aware of that when you go to purchase. For us, because we're such piece snobs, I don't see you not get. You would have got the deluxe.
Yeah,
regardless.
I mean, we loved Villagers a lot. So when I saw this coming out, it was a no-brainer. I was going to back it. And when I saw the piece quality, I just fell in love with the looks of this game.
And I think they came through on the piece quality.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about theme. So the theme is you're building streets of different businesses, and you're trying to get different kinds of buildings, and you're trying to get those buildings to align to obviously get victory points. But as you build them, you take ownership of them, and people come to visit them because they get FOMO, right? They want to be part of what the new thing is, right? So you're building all this stuff, and then when you close out a street, that is when you score the points. So some of the theme-wise, though, it was fun to see how the different buildings and how they kind of related it to scoring and things like that. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think it's funny that they get fear of missing out as soon as a new street's completed, or their street's completed. They get tired of their house or business. It's like, you guys should rent. You really shouldn't be owning.
Right?
Because they up and move as soon as you complete a street. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but no, I think this is very, very interesting and a lot of fun. And so for the theme-wise, when we talk about theme and the art is really eclectic and funny. Like, I feel like it's a very family-friendly, but kind of funny. Like, it's a very fun art style. That's what
I love the concept store that looks like a fancy shoe. That's like a crystal shoe. I mean, it's really fun-looking buildings. I think it's beautiful art. The style of it is really unique, but it blends in with the Villagers, so it does fit the style of Villagers look.
Yeah.
So everything, I think, meshes well thematically with this, as far as the gameplay is integrated. The theme's integrated into the gameplay.
Yes, absolutely, because you're making streets and you're trying to, as soon as the neighborhood closes, you score the points. So there's the buildings are correlated. So the green are considered residences, right? And certain residences have to do with babies, and they require different stores, and so the different stores are out there that can. So I like the fact that the name of the building and kind of it does relate not only with the scoring of the points, but what it's looking for throughout the neighborhood, if you will. So I kind of appreciated that. So I think they did really well on theme. What would you give it as a score for theme, though?
I'm probably going to go ahead and give it a 9. I don't know what it could do to make a 10, because it's so pretty. So maybe I'll go give it a 10. Actually, I can't think of anything to take off for. So to be fair, I think a 10.
Okay. What's funny is though, I totally understand you, because my gut is 9, because there's a sparkle missing. But how do you describe that kind of little bit of wow factor? So I'm agreeing with you in the fact that, okay, what can make this better? Can't think of anything, but there is something that's missing with theme, and I can't even pinpoint it. So I'm going to go a 9.5 just because it's missing that little bit of sparkle for me. And I don't even know what that means. Okay, so take that for what you will. All right, now let's talk about Rulebook.
All right, so the rule book is same size as the box, very thin. It's 24 pages
That
front
looks
and
to
back.
be very small print.
It's not horribly small. It's not terrible, but it is smaller than a lot of books because the book is small. It's very simple game, especially if you're just playing the base game. The rules are actually only to page 12, so you've got the first cover page, the introduction, the components. Then you have just a description of how the tile looks. So really the gameplay is from page 5 is set up to 12 is the end of the game. So it's not a bad read. And you kept wanting to jump in before that. I even finished that little read. Can we start now? Let's start now. It's like, no, we got to know how to play the game.
My attention span is not very long, guys,
Yeah.
if you haven't figured that one out.
The rest of the rule book is dedicated. They have a gameplay example. Then it goes into the solo mode, followed by the different expansions. There's actually, in the game, there's 2 expansions that are added, which is the business expansion, which are these tokens, and then the variable player powers, these abilities here, that are probably my least favorite part of the game, which we'll get to in a moment. But those are all add-ons that are in the standard box. So if you get the standard game retail version, you will still get those cards, just not as many as the Kickstarter. And then just an end-of-game scoring with those expansions added in, a few clarifications specifically on the character you had and the character I had. So it was just kind of funny. We got the ones that they had to clarify. Well, actually, it looks like there's several of the characters that they have clarifications for. Then they have explanations of all the iconography.
Yeah, so I think they did well there.
Yeah. It's for a 24-page book. They did a really nice job on it. And it's a very pretty book. I will go ahead and give this a 9, I believe. It's very well done.
So far, it's working out good.
Well,
all right,
let's get to gameplay.
Let's talk about gameplay. All right, so gameplay is you start off the game. I'm still in these 3 to kind of show you. You start off with 3 tiles. So the goal is to play 1 and draw 1. So when I were to play 1, I'm going to play this one. I'm going to put my little ownership token because there is 1 tourist icon. I'm going to take a tourist and I'm going to put it down.
Yeah,
down, not
they're
up.
laying down.
Laying
Now,
down. If it's up, it's FOMO. But
so the thing is, when you play it, it has to be on the street that's already in development, or you build it perpendicular to another.
Not there.
Not there. You can go in here, where the street is perpendicular to another street. You cannot play it such that the streets run parallel, so it can't be a double wide street. And you cannot put it so that it doesn't touch a street, that it's just in a way that it's touching the sky. Now, if you're playing it in such a way that it happens, like if I played it here, then it can touch the sky on this one because it's perpendicular to these 2 streets. So that's fine. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to find placement of your tile. You can place up to 5 in a street before it has to be closed off, or can be closed off. Or you can close it off actually prematurely, I should say. But
yeah, because so right now there's 4 in the street. I could choose to close it off right now if I wanted to for my next turn. Okay, so I placed 1. I added that to it. I'm going to take this. So the other piece of it is actually closing a street. So when I close a street, I'm going to go here. I'm going to do the same thing. Obviously, it's not my turn, though. Like, he went. I don't know what he did.
Probably something stupid.
Yeah, probably. All right, so I'm going to put my worker on there. I'm going to green tourist. I'm going to put him on here, lay him flat down. So now I'm going to trigger this street. Now, for some reason, people took... we ended the game. No, we took off... they took off their things, which we'll talk about here in a minute if you don't have those. Okay, so but then we're going to score... so right now, we're going to say, for this one, it says the Ferris wheel, you get 4 money for every wild that's in the row. Now, there's only 1 wild in the row, so I'm going to collect $4 for that. All right, I'm going to take a 5 and give you back 1. All right, but then I also get a money for each tourist that is there. And I'm going to take the money, and then I'm going to have them stand up. Okay? And then you go and do that for every single building in that street until the end of the street.
Yeah, the 2 endpoints do not count as far as you don't score those, but
you get the icons.
The icons for the type on there, but not the people. You don't count the people, but the icons will count towards any scoring that's triggered based on those icons.
Correct.
So as long as they're pointing into the street.
Yeah. All right. So, that being said, okay, so then, all right, if you'll notice, okay, so all of these were scored. We're going to remove our ownership tokens and we get those back. Now these are under FOMO. So these guys, they're done. The street's done. They're wanting something new, something different. And so you're going to look on the board to see what spaces are open that they can actually go to because they want to go to somewhere different. In this particular case, that
guy doesn't move.
Oh, he doesn't move. This one does. So I'll look. There is.
No, there's no pink. It's got to be an incomplete street. It cannot be a completed street.
Oh, this yellow has
the
someplace
yellow
to go.
can go here.
So the yellow will go over here. The red will stay because there's nowhere to go. Now, as soon as I were to place a red building, oh, look at that. All right, and I place it here. The red. So my next turn, when I go to do this, it will immediately. Those reds will immediately come and lay them down.
And you would put your token on it.
Right. Okay. So that's kind of what that looks like. And you keep doing that until all the tiles are gone. And then you continue. So once the tiles are gone, it's kind of, hey, last couple of rounds, everyone's aware of it. They don't draw tiles anymore, but you still place all of your tiles until the end of game. But then at that point, you want to close off your streets and get your things kind of counted.
Any incomplete streets are only worth half the value.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of sad, guys. It's kind of sad. So you want to trigger them if you want to trigger them. That's the game, right?
Yeah, it's very simple.
So there is player power. So we experienced a little... My player power was too powerful.
Yeah, I really wish we had not played with the variable player powers on the first playthrough because it really... caused us to have a different opinion on this game, I think.
You, maybe, not me.
Well, yeah. As far as it felt too simplistic without the powers because it was so very basic game. So we went ahead and added everything in. So the business tokens.
Oh, we forgot about those.
Yeah, well, that's one of the expansions. So the business tokens is when a street completes, you can choose one building within the street that you have ownership of.
When you close, or as long as you have something on the street?
No, it's when it closes.
No, I understand when it closes, but who gets it?
Everyone who has a building there can choose one of their buildings to take the token for.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
So whichever type, if Miranda owned this building and has a smiley face, she can take one smiley face token. If I own this craft coffee spot, it's a restaurant, I take a restaurant.
But if I have two buildings, then I have to choose between which one I want. Now, there's something else we forgot to mention. So I am out of ownership tokens, okay? Because different things have not completed or whatever the case may be. I'm going to place one down here. I have to get an ownership token from somewhere. So I decided that I'm not going to complete this car park over here. So I'm going to take my guy, put it here, do what I normally do, except because I took my thing off of it, my consolation prize is I get this star icon.
Only if you're playing with this expansion, but yes.
Yes. So then I get there is no star. Star is a wild.
You can choose which one you want.
Okay. Well, whatever. I'll take a house. I was shorter than last time. All right, so then I take this, I put that there, and that's part of the collection. Now, at the end of the game, every set that you have is worth 10 victory points. If you have the most of something, then it's also 10 victory points.
Victory points are money.
Money, right.
And then for each suit you have of these, there's 4 different ones. Whoever has the most gets 10 money. Yep.
So that's kind of what that looks like with that expansion. The variable player powers, like I mentioned... so the 2 that we played with, I don't think were evenly matched, at least in 2-player.
Yeah.
Especially show, because basically what ended up happening is I got to build, so my powers, I get to build 2, I have to build 2 and draw 2 every single game.
Every single turn.
Every single turn. And so basically I got to own twice as many buildings. And yes, because of this, if you don't play it right, you're going to have an increase of takeoff. But then that ends up building these.
Yeah.
So that's okay. And then honestly, I only had to do that like 3 or 4 times in the game because, I I basically focused on a row so I could hurry up and complete it because I knew I only had 5. So that's not necessarily...
Plus, there's significant advantage for being the one closing off our street because you get to determine where all of the excess people go if there's multiple choices for them to go to. So by you playing 2, you could close way more streets than I could.
Right, because I could finish a street and then like take ownership of it. Now, I will say the only tidbit that was kind of thing is because I had to focus on one street to not lose buildings, I ended up midway through the game when I realized this is not being able to have anywhere to take the people to because all of my tokens were up. So,
right.
it wasn't cost. The hurt was not nearly.
That's because every time you did it, I always had a handful of the opposite colors of what they would go to. So I had no way of playing to take them back anyway. So you got to take them back by playing your next few tiles.
Yeah, sometimes I did. I think you took blue from me.
One time, I think, yes.
Yeah. So and there was a couple of reds I had to give up. But, overall, though, still, my power was a little too powerful. Even though you got extra victory points and you got extra icons and things like that.
My ability was I got to count, there's a wild icon on my card, and I got to count the tiles that I had in my hand as extra icons whenever a street scored. So it was a pretty powerful ability, too.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful.
It was not nearly enough to overcome the fact that you got to play twice as many tiles as I did every turn.
Well, and I think something that was kind of left in the game that I don't think we fully explored yet is cutting off people's streets, because like some of these, like if you would have cut me off, like some of my buildings required icons and things like that, and where I wasn't getting any extra, you should have like maybe closed my streets early on, but then I would have had the thing so I could keep building. So I think there's some strategy there that I don't think we fully explored.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we didn't. It was our first play. So
yeah. And then also, I think with more players, maybe this power will be a little more diluted.
Yeah, it's just odd that they chose that one specifically as 2 to 4 and not for a 5-player game.
Or 3 to 5. Well, no, it says 2 to 4, but I would think that it would probably be better under 3 to 5.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think for 5 players, they don't have enough tiles, so that's why they did it to say don't play 2 on the 5-player game. But, it's just kind of an odd choice that the way that they made that one, especially for a 2-player game, it just felt like I was playing half the game you were playing.
Yeah, I could see that. But that's sad. It's because your power was pretty powerful. It just, compared to this, I think that was a little...
Especially if you're adding in the business tokens, because that gives you those... You basically got every category except for one when we got the scoring of that. So you got, $40?
Well, and there may be a strategy to that, just being like, all right, I just care about icons, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not an invalid strategy for that, because I got quite a significant amount.
Yeah, because that was almost the difference in our scores was the $40 right there.
Right, and that pretty much was it. So there's a little bit of that I think we should take into consideration with playing this. So I would like to play again, maybe with some different player powers to see.
Or without the player powers.
Or without the player powers, because if all of them are as this unequal, I don't know how that's going to end up working.
Yeah, it's another case of variable player powers being a questionable as far as whether you should play with them, because the power can be, it can risk being unbalanced.
At least I'm openly admitting that this one's a little too powerful. You're like, no, Randy, you didn't play well enough.
Who was the one that did the selection of those? Who was that?
It was random. You randomly drew, my friend.
I know.
So it's yours. Now, maybe
when you shuffled them and you chose them.
No, I shuffled them and had you draw. Whatever. Anyway, long story short, funness. Let's give it a score.
I'm going to try to discount as much as I can that factor so I can give a fair assessment.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, if you're looking at just the standard gameplay of this, I think it's a little basic. But then again, it's nice to have a nice light tile placement game. I'll probably give this a 7.5 as just the standard game. If I put in the variable player powers, it probably brings it down to a 6.5 for me, because I think it was detrimental to the game.
Yeah. So for me, I think I'm actually going to give this a 7. And the reason why is that, I mean, it's a light tile placement game, and I think the theme really fits. But I do think that there's maybe some exploration that still needs to be done with this game through a couple of playthroughs, but my initial kind of gut, this is not Villagers. And
no, it's definitely not Villagers.
Like Villagers, I'm like, dude, let's play that. And this one, I'm kind of like, it's okay, it's good. It looks really cool. And I'm gonna give it a 7. And I am concerned about the player powers being kind of wonky. That is a concern for me. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast, and hopefully you'll come and hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.